with here, and if we don't go back to the roots of these issues, we'll never understand the nature of these individuals. Germany and Japan. In World War I, the U.S. joined all the warring parties in using poisonous gases, although to an even greater degree than the others. In World War II, U.S. contingency plans for massive use of CBW against Germany and Japan were avoided by a matter of weeks due to the defeat of the Axis powers. However, there is strong evidence of U.S. use of anti-crop warfare against its two major adversaries. Move on. North Korea. In the Korean War, the first modern U.S. counterinsurgency war, no such limitations were employed. According to an international investigating commission, the U.S. used an array of germ weapons against the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. Feathers infected with anthrax, lice, fleas, and mosquitoes dosed with plague and yellow fever, diseased rodents, and various implements contaminated with deadly microbes, toilet paper, envelopes, and the ink and fountain pens. Indochina. In the war against Indochina, U.S. CBW reached its zenith. It was the most massive chemical warfare in history. Seeking to destroy crops, supporting the popular guerrilla movements, the U.S. early sprayed 55 million kilograms of defoliants, primarily Agent Orange, on the nations of Indochina. As a result, the ecology of massive areas was destroyed. Millions of people were poisoned, many developed cancer, some died, and the next generation suffered horrendous rates of birth defects. Cuba. Since its 1959 revolution, Cuba has been a prime target of U.S. military, economic, and political attacks. In the 1960s, an anti-crop warfare program was carried out. In 1971, the CIA infected Cuban pigs with African swine fever, a deadly disease. Cuban authorities had to slaughter the entire pig population to stop the disease spread. Let's bring this on home to America. 1950s. The U.S. Navy spread a cloud of bacteria over San Francisco. The Navy claimed the bacteria used in the simulated attack were harmless. But many residents came down with pneumonia-like symptoms, and one died. 1952 and 53, clouds of zinc cadmium sulfide were sprayed over Winnipeg, Manitoba, St. Louis, Missouri, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Maryland. Despite claims of harmlessness, a military report noted respiratory problems. 1955, the Tampa Bay area of Florida experienced a sharp rise in whooping cough cases, including 12 deaths following the CIA bio-war test, whose details are still secret, involving bacteria withdrawn from the Army CBW Center. 56 to 58, in the poor black communities of Savannah, Georgia, and Avon Park, Florida, the Army carried out field tests with mosquitoes that may have been infected with yellow fever. And we'll come back to the yellow fever. The insects were released into residential areas from ground level and dropped from planes and helicopters. Many people were swarmed by mosquitoes and then developed unknown fevers. Some died. After each test, Army agents posing as public health officials photographed the tested victims and then disappeared from town. June 7th to 10th, 1966, the Army Special Operations Division dispensed a bacillus throughout the New York City subway system. The Army's reports on the experiment noted the existence of subways in the Soviet Union, Europe, and South America. 68-69, the CIA experimented with the possibility of poisoning drinking water systems by injecting a chemical substance into the water supply of the FDA, that's Federal Food and Drug Administration building in Washington, D.C. And then one last one. One highly suspicious incident that could bear scrutiny as a possible CBW test is the 1978 mass suicide of 900 black North Americans in Jonestown, Guyana. So we haven't even mentioned the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, have we? 40 years studying syphilis in men, and then if you talk about men, the whole African family being infected, and you're not treating these people. 40 years. So if you think about that, they had to find some information about that. You don't just do studies and not find anything that's going on with individuals. And what I found very interesting is that there was an article called Public Health Then and Now, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, 1932 to 1972. Implications for HIV education and AIDS risk education programs in the black community. So it's talking about how people have been very hesitant to go with the government for a test and help when you have for 40 years done something diabolical. But the article makes no reference to the fact that syphilis and AIDS could be connected. I have another article that says the syphilis epidemic and its relation to AIDS, meaning that for all those years they were studying syphilis and how it can maybe be disseminated in the community. Does that then set the precedent of, okay, now it's maybe time to release a substance that can shut down people's immune systems? Something called AIDS? For a substance like that just to pop up in the middle of Africa and people not to question that? So this whole Tuskegee experiment may have been just a precedent for what was to come. Because we always have to look at how diabolical minds work, as we even did with September 11th, 2001. Did they do that to set the stage for other things that were to come? And all these things I'm reading, and I keep mentioning the CIA. In the past, when you had Reagan that was the president, it wasn't nothing about Reagan. It was about putting the CIA in the White House. And who was CIA? George Bush. And you come up to this very day. Who's now still in the White House? The Bushes. Information is just being squashed, and we're not really paying attention to things that are happening and occurring around us. So when you start talking about when people do start to ask questions, when people do start to wake up, the powers that be must do whatever they can, and if it means chemical, biological warfare on their own people, it will be done. Okay. There were two things about this past history that I found very revealing, and one was that there are ethnic weapons, things that primarily can affect African people.